everyone, and welcome back to the Alexa Show. I am Alexa Servodidio, your host, and I am so excited to be back. Tonight, I have such an incredible guest. With us is Tony Jones. He's an on-air personality, life coach, personal trainer, and also a board-certified bariatric counselor. Tony, welcome to the Alexa Show. This has been so exciting. I cannot wait for this interview.
It's great to be here, and fantastic job on my resume, because my resume is a little hard to quantify for folks sometimes, because years ago I read a book called How to Get Better at Just About Anything, and it talked about being a generalist instead of a specialist, and that sent me in the direction of wanting to be a generalist. So that's why I jumped into kind of all these different things, and but great job summing it up. That was the perfect high notes.
I love it, and I relate to it because I have a different billions of careers too. So I always find we don't have to always pigeonhole to like one career. It's
right.
good to have so many different things that we're good at. And also when it's giving back to the community and feeling passionate about the work that we do, because a lot of the work that you do is giving back, is helping people to grow, to heal, and to move forward. How did this all begin with you?
Well, I'll start with personal training, because that was completely selfish in that I'm close to 7 feet tall. So the general medical advice is, once you get into your late 30s, you're going to feel like crap. You're going to need all these prescriptions. You're going to need injections. Just be miserable for the rest of your life is what a lot of providers will tell you. And not exactly in those terms. That's my paraphrasing. But, that's what they'll tell you. And I started looking into what I could do as far as corrective exercises and working out and my own personal training. And when I met with some traditional personal trainers at the big box gyms, they didn't necessarily understand what I was looking for as far as their regular routines are just a little bit of cardio and do this and do this. And, it's a standard kind of for everybody type training plan. And there really is a specific training plan that needs to be for not just men, but also men of my size. So it was completely selfish for me to look into corrective exercises, because I was looking into those corrective exercises for myself. And then that sparked an interest for trying to help other people through personal training.
But I think that story is so important, because so many times, many of us don't start with ourselves. And when we're trying to exercise better, eat better, feel better, everybody goes to this one size fits all eating routine, fitness protocol, and then get discouraged when it doesn't happen,
right,
and fall deeper into being depressed, being sad, being discouraged. So it's important, I think, it's also empowering. As I tell many of my viewers and my clients, you have to find what works for you. Study a bunch of different other methods, but then reel those all in and personalize it. You have to tailor it to what fits you.
And that's why, it's such a great time to be alive with technology, because of our access to all the information. But at the same time, that information is coming at us like a fire hose that we're trying to drink out of. And it really does sometimes take being able to loop in someone that can curate that stuff, or that has been in that situation, that's in a similar situation as you, who's kind of already done the homework for you, so you don't have to start from square one.
Yes, and I think having that sounding board, that platform to begin with, is also inspirational, but it's such an incredible resource for that person to use. What is it like when clients come to you? And I know you're also an on-air radio personality. What type of questions? What are the viewers, the listeners, your clients? What are they looking for?
A lot of folks are just still nervous, and I think it's become even more accessible with the big box gyms. People aren't necessarily as nervous as they used to be to walk into a gym, because they were looking more at the idea of the musclehead gym and do I have the right clothes on? Am I going to be able to fit in? Am I going to know how to use the machines? Am I going to look like an idiot? And I'll tell you, nobody at the gym is looking at you. And I think that is the first step, just to go there, get the lay of the land. Atomic Habits talks about just going to the gym, going to the parking lot and turning around. But just that starting point, I think a lot of people are looking for just the nerve, the gumption, and the promotion of the idea of just getting into the gym just starting, you can do the research now ahead of times of what the machines are like and how to work them. But the big box gyms really do have the opportunity to be accessible for just about anybody. So when I talk to people, they just want to know what is that exact total step one, and that is to get down there and get in the door.
And I agree. And that is such a big step. And I tell many of my clients too, if it's going to the gym, if it's anything, just showing up is so huge. As we know, the anticipation of things can be very overwhelming,
Yeah.
can be paralyzing. So the fact you showed up in the gym, what happens if you go in and you walk on that treadmill for a minute, or you just go into the sauna, or just, go into whatever room and try, look at the weights? That is so huge. And I think setting up realistic expectations, but also then celebrating what your accomplishments. That's the beginning. That's what's going to really be your walk in life and what's going to keep you moving forward.
And a lot of the big box gyms, they do have the opportunity for a kind of a bring a buddy type situation. So that's always what I look at for a second step, where if you do know somebody, not only is it not going to be cost prohibitive because usually their buddy is going in for free, but if you do have kind of that person to show you around on that level to kind of walk you through what their routines are, again, just an easy, simple way to get started, and you've made that first step.
Yes, yes. And what do you find also, other than fitness, different areas of different of your clients and listeners, what do you feel like they really need to hear that they're working on or looking for today?
A lot of people are looking for spiritual care and they don't necessarily realize it. And part of that is because they've had a bad experience in the past with the church situation or how they grew up in a certain religion. So really the idea of non-denominational spiritual care just keeps coming up and keeps coming up, as far as people needing that kind of sounding board, somebody to listen, that would traditionally back in the day have been provided through whatever their faith was. They would always have that community, even if it was just on Sundays, even if it was just in my neck of the woods. A lot of people just go to church on Easter and Christmas, and they consider that their spiritual care routine. But I've really seen a lot of people looking to fill what would have been that traditional area. And again, sometimes that is community, especially for men. We have a heck of a time making new friends. It's just a running joke of once guys retire, they don't have any friends anymore, or once they're out of college, they don't have any friends anymore. So if people can find that community anyway, that community is valuable. So again, don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about the idea of what are the neighbors going to think? How are people going to look at me? Because people are thinking about their own struggle. They're thinking about their own issue. And it's only a real jerk that's there in that situation to judge you. So if on the off chance that is the situation, don't even worry about it.
Yes. And I think finding that community, finding, whatever religion you are, is that personal relationship with God, with your power. And I think it doesn't always have to be the traditional way that we always see. And that's okay, because a lot of times, it's working with many clients that have anxiety or depression or OCD. Getting to that church, getting to that synagogue or that place of worship is just something that might not really be feasible to them because of their emotional and mental needs. And who wants them to miss out on that connection, on that spiritual growth? So it's always finding it where you can get it on a podcast, just hearing it, going to a different place, finding that and starting that relationship, even if it's reading the scripture at home, but being able to start feeding yourself, which will start giving you that strength to grow and grow.
And that's why I did part of my thesis on spiritual care and eating disorders, but not necessarily just traditional eating disorders, but obesity, fitness disorders, anything like that, because so much of traditional religion is potlucks, pancake breakfast, all you can eat, coffee hour, all the pastries you can eat. So there really is an issue where folks are uncomfortable in they're working on a fitness journey at the same time that they're working on a spiritual care journey. And when they show up to a traditional church on Sunday morning, they see a table full of donuts with, every sprinkle and every possible pastry that you could want to get your hands on. So folks, I think, do see that issue again with traditional spiritual care in those communities where they would have access to that, and they're turning away from it now.
Yes. And I know a lot of times, I know the two churches that I'm very familiar with, they have now a fitness component, which I think is so important that
Oh, nice.
You're worshiping together.
Hey, Rhode Island. Keep it real with the Ballybet Casino app. You can play with real dealers plus win real cash. It's got hundreds of slots you can play on your phone when you're out on the go or hanging at home. Just download the app. If you're 21, tap the Ballybet tile and fire up the fun. Play blackjack, baccarat, even roulette. Real dealers, real money, real fun. Ballybet. Must be 21 plus, Rhode Island only. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-9-GAMBLE. Ballybet Casino. Download it.
You're working out together. So you're going to the gym in your mind, in your soul, and in your body.
Yeah.
So then you have that support when you do, because I have to say, they do have the best food. I don't know. A lot of it's homemade. A lot of them they order. It's the best food ever. But I think it's being able to find that community. So how do you feel? I know you're also the bariatric counselor. So with eating disorders, mental health, how did that all play into part 2 for you?
It's interesting because I became a board certified bariatric counselor at probably the worst possible time in retrospect, because the science is saying that with GLP-1s, fewer and fewer people are going to have to turn to bariatric surgery. And, it's something that a lot of people look to as the last possible resort. And it's not easy. They will put you through a psychological eval. They'll make sure you have your nutrition figured out. They'll make sure you have a plan for success. And when I talk to folks, they really have exhausted every single possible way for fitness. And now they're looking at bariatric surgery and they're going through the steps. Some insurance companies will cover it if you walk through all those steps, because they're looking at it as a pay now or pay later. Because if you are able to defeat the battle of the bulge and even just a little bit drop down on an obesity issue, you are looking at so many less health issues, a longer lifespan. Chances are you're going to go off high blood pressure meds. You're going to go off your metformin and other diabetes meds. So it's actually a cost saving for the insurance plans long-term if you're going to be with them and you're able to work a little bit on defeating obesity. But that's the part that people have come into to see me. It has been, they have tried everything you can think of. They've tried every gimmick. They've tried every lotion and potion. They've tried their own. They've tried, and they've gotten to the point where bariatric surgery or any kind of weight loss surgery it is that time where it's now or never.
Yes. And I think also it's really important to have that counselor before and afterwards, because just because you're 40 pounds thinner, your mind isn't 40 pounds thinner. It will still see a lot of times with body dysmorphia and all of that. Eating disorders won't go away because, now I like what I look like. It's really finding that root and working on that. I think many, many years ago, there would be like 1 or 2 interviews. People would go into the surgery or different types of those surgeries and wouldn't realize that it's a really serious surgery. It's not just a diet. There's a lot, there's mentally, physically, emotionally. And that if you really weren't ready to have that regimen, you really have to have it, try to figure it out afterwards. It's really difficult. And also I could find very life-threatening if people's eating habits are forcing their eating habits as they were before after the surgery, because I've seen people or heard of people who will still try to eat that much and don't realize you'll get seriously sick.
No, you can have
with that, because I know a lot of people do it.
You can have a literal stomach blowout if you are not brought into deciding that you have completely changed your eating habits. And it has, I think, because of all the TV shows, it has become more and more known. When I first started talking to people, they still thought that bariatric surgery and weight loss surgery was more of like a plastic surgery type situation. But it is, it's just another tool for your fitness, for your wellness, but it is a serious lifelong commitment. You're going to need multivitamins for the rest of your life. You're going to need to monitor it for the rest of your life. And I don't think this is going to be a HIPAA violation because they're very public about this struggle. But I have one person that I have counseled in the past where, they had lost a ton of weight and they're now wearing a size medium shirt, and they find themselves still ordering size double XL shirts when they shop for clothes, or an extra large shirt, because their mind has not caught up with their perception. Same thing with traditional eating disorders, where people will look in the mirror and they will see a large